Tea was supposed to be a routine update on royal patronage. A quiet Tuesday morning at Buckingham Palace. But when King Charles III stepped before the cameras, the expression on his face told a different story. No smile. No gentle wave. Just a folded piece of paper in his hand and a silence that lasted 10 seconds too long. Then, he spoke 7 words that no one, not the Prime Minister, not the palace insiders, not even the most connected royal journalists saw coming. An announcement so personal, so controversial, that it didn't just break the news cycle. It shattered the very foundation of the modern monarchy. And at the center of the storm? Queen Camilla. What did the king reveal? And why are royal experts now calling this the most dangerous moment for the crown since the death of Princess Diana? To understand the shock, you have to understand the journey. For nearly 5 decades, the love story of Charles and Camilla has been less of a fairy tale and more of a Shakespearean drama full of betrayal, patience, and public forgiveness. They met in 1970 at a polo match. They clicked instantly. But back then, Camilla was deemed unsuitable as a future queen. So Charles joined the Navy, Camilla married Andrew Parker Bowles, and the rest became history, messy, painful, very public history. For years, Camilla was cast as the villain. The third person in Charles and Diana's marriage, as Diana herself famously put it. When Diana died in 1997, Camilla retreated into a shell of silence. She was publicly booed. Groceries were thrown at her car. Polls showed the British public would never accept her as queen. For nearly 2 decades, the palace carefully managed her image. They called her the Duchess of Cornwall instead of Princess of Wales. They promised she would never take the title of queen. That promise, as we now know, was quietly broken when Elizabeth II gave her blessing in 2022. By the time Charles ascended the throne, Camilla had gone from most hated woman in Britain to a hardworking, almost beloved senior royal. She had survived the fire. But the announcement King Charles just made suggests the fire never really went out. So what exactly did the king say? Let's play the exact moment. Standing in the 1844 room, Charles announced a major restructuring of the monarchy's financial and legal protections. But buried in the middle of the statement, almost as a footnote, was the bomb. His exact words: "In light of ongoing personal considerations, Her Majesty the Queen will temporarily withdraw from all public-facing duties involving the formal granting of royal pardons and ecclesiastical appointments, effective immediately." Pause. Rewind. Did he just say temporary withdrawal? For the Queen? In plain English, King Charles just stripped Camilla of 2 specific, but hugely symbolic, powers. The power to advise on royal pardons, a centuries-old authority. And the power over church appointments, which goes to the heart of the monarch's role as supreme governor of the Church of England. The room of journalists went silent. One reporter audibly gasped. Within minutes, the hashtag "Where is Camilla" began trending globally. But here is where the shock deepens. This wasn't a health issue. Palace sources later confirmed to multiple outlets that Camilla is in excellent physical health. This wasn't a scheduled rest. And most chillingly, Camilla was not present at the announcement. She wasn't standing beside him. She wasn't mentioned in the draft press release circulated 2 hours earlier. In fact, insiders now reveal that the Queen Consort learned of this public statement only 90 minutes before the king spoke. 90 minutes. For a couple that has presented a unified front for 20 years, that silence is deafening. Within 2 hours, the BBC had cut into regular programming. Sky News put up a live banner reading, "Royal Crisis, King Limits Queen's Powers." But the real explosion happened on social media and in the commentary studios. Piers Morgan called it a public humiliation disguised as protocol. Former royal butler Paul Burrell went further, telling one outlet, "This is Charles drawing a line. He is saying, I am the monarch. Not both of us." And yet, there was another side. Republican groups, who want to abolish the monarchy, celebrated. One campaign leader tweeted, "Finally, someone admitting the Queen Consort role has no constitutional basis." She shouldn't have had those powers to begin with. Feminists were divided. Some praised Charles for clarifying the monarchy is not a joint venture, while others accused him of publicly shaming his wife to distract from other palace scandals. But the most emotional reaction came from an unexpected source, Camilla's own family. Her son, Tom Parker Bowles, posted then quickly deleted a single sentence, "You don't do this to someone you love." It was up for only 7 minutes. But 7 minutes was all it took for the tabloids to screenshot it and run front pages declaring of marriage and meltdown. Royal insiders, speaking on condition of anonymity, described Camilla as blindsided and deeply, deeply wounded. One source said, "She has spent 20 years proving her loyalty." And in one speech, she was reduced to a footnote. Let's step back. Why would Charles do this? On the surface, it looks like cruelty. But 3 hidden implications are now emerging. First, the legal reality. The crown is not a marriage. The queen consort holds no constitutional power on paper. However, for decades, Camilla has been given access to the king's red box's state papers, and has influenced pardons and church positions informally. What Charles just did is formalize a ban. Some analysts believe this is less about Camilla and more about setting a precedent for William and Kate. Charles may be ensuring that no future spouse ever mistakes access for authority. Second implication, the Church of England is in open war over female bishops and same-sex marriage. Camilla, privately, is known to be more progressive than Charles. Multiple reports suggest she has pushed for modernizing church appointments. Conservative bishops were furious. By removing her from that process, Charles may be making a cold political calculation to avoid a schism. He is choosing the church over his wife. But the third implication is the most explosive. And this is where the twist comes in. What if this announcement isn't really about Camilla at all? What if it's about Prince Andrew? Let me explain. Sources now whisper that Camilla has been quietly advocating for Andrew, the disgraced Duke of York, to be allowed back into limited public roles. She reportedly argued that family forgiveness should override public outrage. Charles disagreed violently. By publicly stripping Camilla of pardon powers, the king is sending a single, unmistakable message: not even my wife can influence me on Andrew. In other words, Camilla just took a bullet meant for her brother-in-law. And here is the twist that viewers did not see coming. Hours after the announcement, a well-connected royal author revealed that Camilla had threatened to resign from her patronages if Charles did not allow Andrew to attend a major family event. Charles's response? He didn't argue. He didn't negotiate. He simply rewrote the rules so she no longer has the standing to make that threat. The king has outmaneuvered the queen. But in doing so, he has created a monster of a different kind. Because now, royal watchers are asking the unthinkable question: is Camilla planning to leave? Not the marriage, necessarily. But London. Friends of the Queen say she has been spending more time at her private home, Ray Mill House in Wiltshire. She has reconnected with old friends who are not part of the royal set. And just last week, she quietly renewed the lease on a private office separate from the palace. These are not the actions of a woman who feels secure. These are the actions of someone building an exit ramp. If Camilla were to step back from royal life, not as a scandal, but as a personal choice, the monarchy would lose its most experienced working royal after Charles himself. It would leave a hole that Kate and William are not yet ready to fill. And it would make Charles the loneliest king in modern British history. So where does this leave us? The king has made his announcement. The powers have been removed. The media has screamed. But Camilla has not yet spoken. Not one word. Not one statement. Not one carefully staged photo op. Her silence is louder than any press release. It is the silence of a woman who has spent 50 years being told who she is and has finally realized she might have a choice in the matter. The monarchy was built on the idea of a sovereign who controls everything. But no king can control the heart of a queen who has decided to walk away. The announcement is over. But the real story? It hasn't even started. We will be watching. And so should you.